woke up in a beautiful aspen grove, drove through the golden leaves here, and now I'm at the Rock of Ages trailhead just outside of Telluride, Colorado. It is obviously the official parking lot of Toyota because literally every single car here is one. Today, going to be hiking Centennial and 13er Gladstone Peak. For a full trail guide of this mountain, you can check the link in the description below. All right, let's quickly talk about Gladstone Peak. If you're doing this peak, you're probably pretty experienced. If you're not, then this is going to be different than some of my videos. I'm just not going to show as much. Two main approaches for Gladstone Peak. The Navajo Basin, basically on the other side of this, and then here, Rock of Ages. This is a little bit shorter. Navajo, a little bit more accessible by vehicle. Really, so far, this is just as pretty as what I remember the other side. Gladstone Peak should be about 11.5 miles from here, maybe add a couple miles from the other side, and from here about 3,500 feet of elevation gain. It's class 4, and as you can kind of hear the clicking of rocks underneath me, the rock quality here is bad. It's going to be one of those ridges that looks maybe a lot shorter than the amount of time that it'll take you. Okay, you came from here, continuing this way. Beautiful scene this morning. So in front of you here is the saddle you're eventually working to. You're going to kind of switch back up eventually. From there, the real challenges begin. Just as a quick heads up, because I do like to fly the drone, this is all outside of the wilderness area. So once we cross over the saddle, we'll be into, I believe it's Lizard Head Wilderness. Quote unquote house behind you. Here's your cairn. You're going to leave the road here and you'll see kind of a trail. To be honest with you, the traveling this morning has been quite boring actually, so I might take back my Navajo versus Rock of Ages approach. There's a ton of private land here, so stay on the trail, don't go off the trail, because as we know, landowners around here will take away access to all of these mountains like that. Up on the saddle here, Rock of Ages saddle. This is the wilderness area over here, so no more flying the drone. It's a little windy up here, but otherwise pretty dry, which I'm very happy about. Your next move is going to be to join up to the ridge and then start your traverse over. We'll talk a lot more about this traverse in a second, but essentially what you really want to do is stay as high or direct to the ridge as possible. The ridge is class 4 and a lot of class 3. If you don't know what that means, maybe do not do this route because this is not a good intro one to figure it out. On the ridge now, looking straight to Gladstone in front of you. As I've talked about, this is going to be very important to not assume that any rock here is solid. To add to that, this kind of goes without saying if you're attempting something like this, but make sure you have plenty of time to get there and back. I'm thinking this is going to take me probably at least 2 hours each way. And for a perspective, we're at about 13.3, so you climb another 600 feet or so and you go about a little under 1.5 miles each way. If there is an exception to staying on the ridge, it's this part to maybe right there. This is all kind of like unnecessary little towers, so I'm going to hug this right the left side of the mountain, but the right side of the rock as close as I can to rejoin the ridge. You are gonna have to do some down climbing on here, so do not expect to just constantly be going up. Non-GoPro looking down that little knife edge section there. When I talk about everything being loose, that's what I mean. Wow. Scary. I don't think it's as technical. I think that's a little class 4 there, but there's my feet. Then we start to level off for a little bit. Also, it goes without saying that like there's gonna be less shots. It's just me today. I'm gonna keep myself safe and I'll show you aesthetically as much as I can. Ahead of me, it's more of the same. Looks like over to Wilson Peak. I would say we're about halfway along the ridge. This area right here, you'll see it pretty noticeably when you approach it, is definitely the crux. There's a pretty good down climb right here, and we'll have to reclimb it on the way back. Finally, a little reprieve, but it's not gonna be for long because we gotta climb, and this is gonna be a lot of class 3. You can see some little knife edges, but we're getting there. So when you're not doing like the super gnarly stuff, this is kind of the consistent quality of rock. Unreal view. The ridge is like obviously right here. As you get higher, I'm like 13.4. It's super important to stay basically on or as close to the ridge as you can. I keep getting up to the ridge and then I'll make like one move and then I'll end up 20 feet down from it. So, and the rock and dirt is wicked shitty down here. Notch in the ridge here. Man, it just never seems to end. Final section here. I've been kind of piggybacking between ridge proper and like a little bit to the left. but top's right there. Looking all the way back, Rock of Ages, Navajo Lake approach, Wilson Peak, beautiful Telluride, Ouray, Ophir. Top of Gladstone Peak. Wow, that was challenging. Very slow going, so I'm really not looking forward to the way down. But the summit views absolutely make up for it. It is so beautiful up here. A little cloudy, which is actually nice, but the foliage that coats the area in San Juan's down here is breathtaking. To the summit, just about 3,400 feet, just under 5 miles. So if this all holds up, will be a little shorter distance-wise than what I anticipated, but climbing basically the same. Remember, on the way down, you do have to reclimb a bunch of stuff, so you'll be gaining quite a bit more elevation. I'm not going to spend that much time here because I already can tell this is going to probably be ending in the dark because I want to really take my time going down. But I am going to... That was my timer to turn around, so good timing. I am not going to film on the way down, but I will just say this. Be very careful. On the way down here, I am sticking way more direct to the ridge, and I highly recommend that. There's times on the way up when you're climbing, it looks like it doesn't go. It all goes. And yes, it's a little more exposed, but the rock quality and the directness of it, and not worrying about random rocks falling, which I've been hearing literally all day, caused by nothing, this is the way. This tower right here is the one that you can directly climb class 4, or there is a variation to kind of go down here and around. I would recommend just staying on the ridge, like you have the entire descent. Off the ridge finally. Significantly less time this way versus tagging the summit, but still very slow going. The rock quality just leaves no confidence. So yeah, very relieved to be off that. I'll be even more relieved to get to Rock of Ages saddle here and actually be on something I can trust. That's the ground. Man, if you're hunting Centennials, that is a tough one for sure. And I would not just like come here and do that as like a fun ridge scramble. It's not as bad as the Matterhorn Traverse. It's probably similar to El Diente Mount Wilson over there. Just not super enjoyable really. I'm gonna call it a day here. 10 miles, 3,600 feet of vert. That is a tough Centennial, my friends, but definitely doable and definitely not the worst rock quality, but it's definitely not good, as we've talked about a million times. Super proud of myself today. I've really been trying to be better about acknowledging just like self-worth, self-love. It's something I really struggle with to get deep at the end of the video here. That right there is the most challenging thing I've done in quite some time. I just stayed focused. I didn't get any level of afraid, and I'm just really pumped about that, because for those of you who care or know about my story, it's been very traumatic in the mountains. I'll wrap this video up here. If you want to help support the channel, if you want to watch a video on that thing right behind me or this one right behind me, I have videos on literally every single 14er, a lot of the Centennials as well. You can support the channel by throwing this video a like, hitting the subscribe button. I know like 70%, something like that, are not subscribed, so really help the channel if you could do that. If you want to do even more, there's a Patreon, there's virtual Sherpa gear linked on my website as well, and of course just donations are always appreciated. I'm gonna end this one with the foliage behind me here because I just really like that. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, we'll see you guys on the next adventure.